What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 110, here with my guy, Brenton. How are you?
I'm doing good. The transfer market is heating up. The UEFA Nations League is upon us. The UEFA Euro qualifiers are upon us. The Gold Cups. We got so much to talk about here. But I don't think I'm any better or can be any better than Speed is at this moment. But we'll talk about him later. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Portugal's winning non-stop, as it seems. Yes, we faced against Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, and Bosnia, but I'm happy. No goals suffered in those 3 games. But we'll be talking more about Portugal forwards. But before we get to it, do not forget to like this video. Let's get to the more than 100 likes. Let's go, people. Go bold. And in the comment section, we'll be answering your comments too. But, woof. Transfers you mentioned, and boy, oh boy, this summer is going to be Real Madrid transfers window, in my opinion. I can see the mind games all over the news, and Real Madrid have the number 9, still unknown, the number 7 with Vinicius Jr., the 11 with Rodrigo, and the number 5 iconic jersey with Jude Bellingham. That is so right. Jude Bellingham is going to make history. This is the story that will be told in 20, 30 years. That's a bold prediction of mine. An Englishman that chased his dream in football since the age of 17 at Birmingham 16. Am I right? In his debut, Breton, with the number 22.
Absolutely. And that number 22 has since been retired at Birmingham City. So, yeah, Jude Bellingham making a mark wherever he goes, and next stop is going to have to be the Bernabeu. But yeah, he's one of a handful of Englishmen to ever pull on the Real Madrid, the storied Real Madrid and historic Real Madrid jersey, and it's going to be really interesting how well he settles in. But I'm going to say it right now. I mean, I know you've got the specs on it. I know you've got the cost. It's over 100 million, right? It's the 13th, I believe you said, most expensive transfer of all time. And Jude Bellingham, I think this cost to them, and them not necessarily signing a 9 after Benzema's exit, is a huge misstep. If they are seriously going to wait it out for a year to see if they can bring a certain somebody in. But Joselu, yes, I believe is his name, or Joselu, 33 years old, is their 9 solution, their number 9 solution for the coming year. And it seems to me that they're not going to do anything else. And I'm going to say that's a misstep. I mean, they can get, they'll survive, right? They've got their midfield core set for years and years and years to come.
I don't know.
But Joselu, man, you don't know?
Mbappé.
Yeah.
The play is on the table right now. Mbappé said this in his French camp. Yeah. He said, many things can happen in 1 year, especially at PSG. Mbappé said this, and that especially ain't a good one. Messi's leaving, Neymar's leaving, Ramos is leaving, Verratti could possibly be leaving, a lot of players on the go. So that especially might be referring to that. I really think Mbappé, he's playing his cards the right way right now. Mbappé is saying he wants to stay at PSG the next season, but guaranteed every other season after that, it's Real Madrid. And he surely wouldn't mind to go to Real Madrid this summer. Florentino Perez must be planning that. It will be embarrassing for Florentino Perez if he doesn't manage to get the Mbappé deal happening, which I don't think will be the case. And you mentioned Joselu. Joselu is a huge upgrade from Mariano Diaz. He will cost Real Madrid the loan fee, 500,000. And if they want, the buy option is 1.5 million after this season. Masterclass deal by Florentino Perez, which he even scored for the Spanish national team. All that, 2 million.
He did.
2 million. That's a bargain.
I believe after suffering relegation, right, with Espanyol. So he hasn't had the best go of it. I mean, he still scores. It doesn't matter what team he's in. I'm not knocking Joselu, but the guy has been with 8 teams since he left Real Madrid the first time in 2012. So it is kind of a coming home in that respect, and I think he wants to score some goals in a Real Madrid shirt. But it is an interesting tactic here, and I think for people that don't know out there who haven't, or maybe your head has been under a rock, the owners of PSG really do have a conundrum. If you want value, 150, 200 million plus, whatever you're asking for an Mbappe, you're going to have to do something now. You're going to have to do something soon. And the issue is, if it was any other ownership group than PSG's ownership group, we'd probably be talking about there's a 99.9% degree of certainty that Kylian Mbappe will leave. But because it is the ownership group that it is, I don't think burning a few dollars, and obviously it's a lot of dollars, matters to them. I think Mbappe does stay this year. I honestly do. I think it happens. I think are we in agreement that that's going to happen?
I don't think it happens though, Breton. I think Mbappe is going this summer. I think you know why? It's the policy of transfers. I feel like PSG is attacking this market in a very different way. They've got Milan Skriniar. They've got Sherendura on a free. They've got an Ugarte. That Vitinha will do damage in Ligue 1. It's really good level. And let's see the manager, Luis Enrique, with Ugarte and Vitinha would be bold. Sherendura being bought out. Milan Skriniar, that was another player that came. And there's another, Asensio.
Kang and Lee, too. Kang and Lee.
Yeah. Yes, youngster too. Which he one step back to go 2 steps forward. And now signing for PSG. Sure. That was the right move. That's a great mention.
It is, but I don't know if there is one ownership group to kind of spite this whole deal that happened. I believe it is this one that could hold him there until his contract's up, and then hey, you get rid of him the way you get rid of him. But they're not the type that necessarily needs the money, right? So when it comes down to it,
because I think PSG will not be the focus of Qatar investment in the next 3-4 years. I think they will be maybe acquiring Man United and maybe acquiring a bit of Barcelona. A lot of news are hinting on that. But I really believe Qatar will be investing boldly in another team other than PSG because it won't work out in League. Man United being the favorites for that, being the main investment. Even Mbappe to Man United if the Qatar takeover happens. I don't reckon that's the case. Mbappe's intention is clear. It's to be a Galactico, to win a Ballon d'Or. Because if Haaland wins the Ballon d'Or, European treble, I'm not going to go against that, understanding Lionel Messi too in the contention, but that would put Mbappe really cross. That's his competition for the Ballon d'Or in the future. Erling Haaland.
And you know who is sure. And you know who is a actual winner in this whole potential Mbappe capture is Endrick. If he can think of it that way, because Endrick finding his way to Real Madrid at some point, and learning under the auspices of literally one of the greats, right? Kylian Mbappe at this moment in time. That would just be absolutely ridiculous, along with his compatriots, Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo. So absolutely ridiculous possibilities there at Real Madrid. And I know we all are looking forward to what could be a potential, well, we don't need to go on to this yet, but could be a potential Endrick versus Vitor Roque at Barcelona for years and years, for decades to come. But before we go there, the whole PSG thing is just absolutely ridiculous. The clear out, the quickness of the clear out. Let's be honest, Neymar hasn't left yet, right? Neymar hasn't left yet. He's not gone. He's not gone as it stands. So there's still quite a bit of movement that needs to happen, but it feels like that clear out is coming. As you mentioned, that change in policy, which, to be honest, I thought that change in transfer policy was going to happen with Gaultier, because Gaultier is not Mr. like, hey, give me your, like, you know who could have done really well with this trio, with Mbappe, with Neymar, and with Messi?
Who?
Luis Enrique.
Nah, I don't.
Luis Enrique could have.
He plays.
Why? He's not a builder. He's never necessarily been a builder.
It's because of the ball possession type football with Barca, with Spain. I think when PSG now thinks of Luis Enrique, is thinking the midfield talent we have. Vitinha, Zaire Emery, Ugarte, with a coach like Luis Enrique, that would work out very well. I kind of understand where you're coming from with Galtier in a rebuild stance. With Luis Campos, that worked out very well at Lille. And at Nice, it was a rebuild too. But Galtier would never work when he has to manage a locker room with 3 huge personalities like world-class players, Neymar, Messi, and Mbappé. It clearly didn't work out in terms of that.
I agree, which makes the board idiots for signing him in the first place.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Makes them idiots for signing. That's their fault, not Galtier's fault. Galtier, exactly. He failed. I'm gonna, mea culpa there. I thought he actually was gonna step up with it, but at the same time, Luis Enrique wasn't available. He was not available over the last several years, unless you were going to pry him away during a World Cup prep, right, for Spain. And when it comes down to it, the issue is from a club perspective, Luis Enrique doesn't really have like building on his resume, right? So there's no necessary guarantee. I agree, he's a phenomenal manager, but there's no necessary guarantee that this is Barcelona redux, right? Where I think he won a Champions League, he won a couple La Liga titles, but ultimately he's also had issues with the locker room. He has, right? And he didn't do really well at giving good opportunities to La Masia talents when he was at Barcelona previously. You had like Sandro Ramirez, and you had, I don't know, who's the other guy? Rafinha.
Well,
right?
Rafinha. Luis Enrique signs for PSG. Sergio Ramos goes. He's leaving. We already know Sergio Ramos is going to leave. But given the fact that Luis Enrique's the manager, that's like factual. But it's factual. Right. Sergio Ramos is going to leave. But given that Mbappé is even saying, especially anything can happen at PSG, like Real Madrid shows that good management is a fact with them. In the last 6 seasons, in terms of sales, Real Madrid has done 678 million. When it's not working, Real Madrid make the tough call. And after losing that 4-0 to Man City, it's a total rebuild. Mbappé is coming. Jude Bellingham is already there. And guarantees are going to come now with Florentino Perez. I wanted to say that. But, you said sorry, yes.
Yeah, well, no, just one last thing, because with Real Madrid, there is somebody that was in the running managerially to actually be at the head of PSG. I think we were all thinking it was going to be Julian Nagelsmann at the head of PSG at one point in time. And it seems to me, I don't know what's going on here, but Nagelsmann goes into conversations with Chelsea, boom, pulls out. Goes into conversations with Tottenham, boom, pulls out. Goes into conversations with PSG, Nagelsmann pulls out. So it seems to me like if you're going to talk about the stewardship of Real Madrid, Julian Nagelsmann is waiting until 2024, when Carlo Ancelotti possibly steps down as Real Madrid boss.
Why doesn't Ancelotti go now to Brazil?
I don't know. That I don't know.
I think if Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid, the 2 favorites are Julian Nagelsmann, if he's available, and the other manager must be Zidane. He won 3 Champions Leagues in a row at Real Madrid. Never has been done in the history of this game. And if Mbappé is there, if Mbappé is at Real Madrid with Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, Fede Valverde, Chouameni, this young core, Zidane is the man to change this Champions League destiny against Man City. Because Mbappé needs that. But, that's a bold mention with Nagelsmann. Who do you believe will be the manager of Real Madrid if Ancelotti leaves? Put down below in the Real Madrid talk. But Barcelona, we got to mention Barcelona. Barcelona, you say Vitor Roque. Best thing that Xavi's doing in the beginning of the transfer window is getting the wingers sorted at Barcelona. Xavi Ball needs new wingers, and Vitor Roque is a great solution. 35 million plus 10 in variables is a bargain for the potential of this player. Vitor Roque, Alejandro Balde, Pedri, Gavi, Ronald Araújo, Condé, so many youngsters, and the future of Barca against Real Madrid that is bold too. I'm going to lean on this Barca youth with Xavi because I just think the consistency is going to go through. But very interesting. Very interesting move.
it's more cost efficient to do so, right? That's for dang sure. And yes, if you're gonna be revamping the wings, you can still get a pretty penny, I think, for Rafinha, for Ferran Torres if you're letting him go, which I thought he was already on the cusp of leaving. But we'll see if it actually happens. But no, I mean it's a great first move on the chessboard in the transfer window for Barcelona, but they're gonna need some outgoings to match that. There's just so much that needs to be done, I think, still, right, with Barcelona. Don't you think so, for them to be a Champions League winner?
The big question is the pivot, because Guardiola era was marked with Sergio Busquets. The Xavi era needs to be marked now with a different CDM. But if they manage to sort it through with Frankie de Jong, Gavi, and Pedri being the starting three, I don't know if that will work out. I still believe they have to get a CDM. I really believe so. But, Breton, the next 3 years, who would you pick? Pedri, Gavi, Frankie, or Jude, Camavinga, and Fede Valverde?
Ooh. You're killing me with this. This is, here's the thing. There's no guarantee that Jude, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni are actually going to gel as well as we want them to.
I didn't say Tchouaméni, Valverde. Camavinga, Valverde, and Jude
got
Bellingham
it. I'm sorry.
Pedri, Gavi, Frankie.
Yeah. Okay. I really love the chemistry between Gavi, Pedri, and De Jong. I think on paper it should be Real Madrid's trio. But I think as of right now, and I'm swallowing not necessarily my pride here because I am fans of them. I just think that the chemistry and the understanding of how Xavi wants to play is fully there. And will be. So if I'm going near term, I'm going to say Barcelona. If I'm going long term, I'm probably going to say at some point Real Madrid's midfield will overtake Barcelona's. But as of right now, Barca's got the take for me.
Ooh, my take on that is Pedri. I think next season, Pedri at Barcelona will solidify himself as definitely a top 3 midfielder in the world. I'm going to go bold and say that because the competition is Jude Bellingham. And El Clásico is gaining importance with Pedri against Jude, with Camavinga against Gavi, with Frankie against Valverde, and Vitor Roque against Endrick. A lot of players going against each other. Real Madrid and Barca need that. Need that so much. But you mentioned the pivot role, and we had news. This is bold news in the transfer window. 55 million for Ruben Neves. This is Jorge Mendes masterclass, and the biggest winners in this deal is Wolves. 1 year left in his contract, and they get 55 million euros. Mad deal.
That is madness. If you wanted more proof that this Saudi talent pool is very similar to the Chinese Super League talent pool of 2012, I believe it was. Ruben Neves going for that amount is that. Now, Neves is still 26 years old, right? So this actually is, they're grabbing a very talented individual still in or around the peak of his playing career. And it's actually a great grab for the Saudi League. But at the same time, if anyone, I don't care, but like any team is offered that amount, with 1 year left on your contract, you take that and you run all the way to the bank with that money. You run all the way to the bank with that money because Wolves are making out like Lopetegui is probably just like sipping on a Mai Tai right now, just like foaming at the mouth, wondering what we can do with that money, right? And Neves was leaving anyway. He was gone. I think so. So it's huge.
And the news was always Barca. But as it seems, Barca aren't going to take the risk of getting Ruben Neves. It was 30 million 1 year and his contract left. So I think Barca must be considering another player that maybe it's Gabri Vega, maybe Zubimendi's deals is progressing well. Kimmich, well, I don't know. I think Kimmich is going to stay at Bayern, but they're definitely thinking about the CDM as in that position, and Ruben Neves was not. And for Ruben Neves, he must have been like, it's Barca or money. Like, seriously. But again, I don't know how much money is he going to receive. I don't know the influence that's going to have in his life. I hope it was the best decision for Ruben Neves, and I hope he keeps going both for us Portuguese because he's 26.
Well, you know, it's probably that Jorge Mendes receives like what, 45 million of that 55 plus. No, just kidding. I think I am a little bummed
Mm-hmm.
to see Ruben Neves at 26 years old go somewhere where he's not going to necessarily have the visibility. Yes, I know Cristiano Ronaldo is there. Yes, I know Karim Benzema is there. But I think, tell me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
as a Portuguese supporter, I think you'd rather have Ruben Neves playing in one of the most challenging spaces at 26 years old, more so than having him.
And Ali Love.
It's a life altering cash grab
Mm-hmm.
for Ruben Neves. But you probably would have liked to have seen that done maybe, I don't know, after the next World Cup and not
I agree.
heading into 2026. So I'm with you that it's like massive. But at the same time, if they're gonna keep doing it, my goodness, I'm trying to think of like older, like I don't know, send Ferran Torres for Barcelona. They could probably get 90 million for Ferran Torres. You send him to Saudi Arabia
Well, let's
if
see.
he'd accept, you know.
I could,
But
I could
what do
see
you
that.
think Wolves does with this? Right? What do you think Wolves does with this money?
Gets a striker.
That's kind of the bigger question. Gets a striker.
Gets
Yeah.
a striker.
But who?
That's the most important thing. They must get a striker when Fabio Silva's gonna leave and when Jimenez in the past. They should have gotten before. Like since Jimenez got injured, the striker should have been there. But tell us, people, your Barca opinions in the comment section below. Who will be the CDM that Barca gets if it's not Ruben Neves? Tell us in the comment section down below. But
Yes.
Premier League though, like I before we get to the Premier League, I just want to mention here, Kimmich is gonna stay at Bayern Munich, as it seems.
Yes.
And he's gonna
Why not?
stay because behind him, behind Kimmich, we're gonna have the one of the best center back duos in the world, 100%. Matthias de Ligt and Min Jae Kim. Mad that these two players were transferred from Serie A. From Serie A to Bayern Munich. That is scary scenes, Min Jae Kim and De Ligt. With Upamecano, with Kimmich in front of them. Oh my God.
It's huge. And yeah, Upamecano, I'm glad you mentioned him there in the end. Because I don't know, maybe they play with 3 center backs in the future. And I like that's depth. That is depth all across the board. But Bayern does still need some work on that roster. But Kimmich staying is an absolute coup. It's absolutely massive for them. I thought it was time for Joshua Kimmich to kind of go into and find greener pastures, or at least a new challenge. But, you know, Thomas Mueller has shown previously that you don't necessarily need to leave the club to go on and have one of the most successful careers in German footballing history. But listen, Min Jae Kim leaving, a great coup for Bayern Munich. Really, really sad and unfortunate for Napoli. It really is. Now, I get you're going to get some money, right? But not as much as you probably would on the open market, because it seems to me that come July, there is this release clause that is going to allow them to get him for a decent amount, assuming somebody else does not come back in with a higher contract negotiation. But what it comes down to is Napoli, after winning their first Scudetto since Maradona times, they've already lost Spalletti. He's gone. They're going to lose their top center back. They're really likely going to lose Victor Osimhen. There's probably going to be a
I'm not with you.
You don't think so?
I think Osimhen might be staying. I think Osimhen might be staying.
I would look at their replacement for Spalletti, and I'd say, Osimhen, get out of there. Take the money. I don't think Rudy Garcia is the guy. I don't think he's the guy that should be leading Napoli into the next, 3 years, or at least into the next campaign to defend your Scudetto. But at the same time, right now I'm losing. I got sadness. I've got tears welling in my eyes at what was the Napoli project, and there's only been really 2 massive exits, and that is going to be Min Jae Kim and Spalletti. But Rudy Garcia, like, you honestly think he's the guy to take Napoli to whatever?
I would get Sergio Conceição, but they have to pay an 18 million release clause to get Sergio Conceição.
You're gonna have the money.
Rudy Garcia, I understand, but I have a suggestion. If Victor Osimhen leaves, that I'm still skeptical on that, because Hamsik stayed a long time, Insigne, Mertens, Koulibaly stayed a long time, and if they have no release clause, if Min Jae Kim had no release clause, he would have stayed a long time. I believe if Osimhen leaves Napoli should get Taremi and Otavio from Porto. A double scoop Otávio is an all-around perfect midfielder that is Portuguese national team caliber with a release clause of 40 million. And Taremi has 1 year contract left and he has 42 goal involvements this season. Back-to-back hat-tricks for Iran in this international break. Taremi. He's underrated.
I like
He's
it.
underrated.
I like it.
So
I mean, he's a little. He's.
They would pay like 60 million for those two players. And Vitor Roque is going to leave, if he leaves Napoli, for more than 100 million guaranteed. I think it'll be more than 130. I think it'll be like 130, 150 million. So
which obviously narrows down the clubs that he would be able to even go to. And it's just whether or not they decide to pull that trigger this summer, you know, when it comes down to it. But yeah, well, unfortunately, if they go out and they spend it on Otávio and they spend it on and Taremi, which I think is a great shout, they still need to address that center back. Now, Romani and their defense, their depth of defense was not necessarily terrible. Like they've got some defense, and I think they can step it up. But what it comes down to is I am just so sad that it feels like it's over before it began. I wanted to see Napoli kind of make a run at doing it. It's really hard to do it in Serie A, although Juventus found a way.
I think this Napoli
Rudy Garcia couldn't even win the Saudi league with Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, but but supposedly he was doing better before he arrived. No, supposedly.
Interesting. Hearing you say that, I know. Allegedly, right?
But exactly. But
no, but like Rudy Garcia hasn't really done anything in 10+ years.
Well, let's see. I think it's Spalletti too was big hate beforehand. He hadn't won in a ton of years too, and what happens? De Laurentiis manages to make this happen. I think Napoli is still a question mark in my opinion, and I want to see how they attack the market. If Napoli keeps Osimhen, Lobotka, Kvisha Kvaratskhelia, like that's a win for me. Those three. But I think it'll be highly unlikely. Put down below if you believe in what we're saying about Napoli, Bayern Munich, and if you want more transfers suggestions like we did with Taremi and Otávio, tell us in the comment section below. But Premier League transfers. Woo! The Premier League. Now, this is time to spend big bucks. I haven't seen a lot of news on Newcastle still. Arsenal, I see only Declan Rice that it must happen. Arsenal must sign Declan Rice, especially if Thomas Partey is leaving. That deal must happen after the Saliba and the Saka extensions, which is unreal. Trust the youth with Arteta.
That's an affront, though, sir, because it's not just Declan Rice in the airwaves. It is also Kai Havertz. And I am here to tell you that if they actually land Kai Havertz, I think it's a good one. I think it's a great signing if they go for Kai Havertz. You know why? Because the rest of the striker market, as it stands, especially a striker that is pretty versatile and can come back and has had a really tough time at Chelsea, Kai Havertz is the only one that is somewhat decently priced. The whole rest of the striker market is absolutely, what's a nice way to put this?
I like
it's
Kai
absolutely
Havertz behind the striker. That's when he was at Leverkusen. I don't think he's like that matador. He's a false nine type striker. Do you think that will work out with Arteta?
I do. I do. From versatility, from the ability, like tactical flexibility, definitely from depth. I mean, Gabby Jesus does come back. He doesn't just stay up top, right? He does come back. Whereas you got Eddie Nketiah, you would still have him, especially for this Champions League campaign. You've got Nketiah, who's more an out-and-out 9 that stays where he's at, right? He doesn't come back at all. So you've got Gabby Jesus, you've got Havertz, who can actually dip into center mid. I really, really like Kai Havertz to Arsenal, and I hope Arteta gets it over the line, especially when you consider the rest of the strikers and how much they would cost out there when their primary goal is, as you mentioned previously, Declan Rice or midfield, right? The midfield. So I really want it to happen because the other thing that Havertz gives you that he doesn't get enough credit for is he wins aerial duels. He's all over the place. He's strong in the air. Yes. He's got the ability to really help this squad for quality of depth. So that's the one that really piqued my interest when, Twitter was alight with all of these Arsenal things left and right. If Kai Havertz is on the market, I think Arsenal should take him.
That's a bold statement. Like this video if you're enjoying it. And Kai Havertz to Arsenal. That is something I think is going to happen too, Bretson. For 60 million to 70. That's a bold investment. Arsenal, until this summer, they haven't spent more than 60 million pounds on a transfer with Arteta. Gabi Jesus is the most expensive transfer. I think they're going to break the bank for Declan Rice. And now Havertz will be more expensive than Jesus, which therefore
funny little fact.
Start.
Funny little fact there. Kai Havertz, just 3 years ago when he joined Chelsea, he was also a club record signing at that point in time. So at some point, you as a club have to cross the Rubicon in this really overinflated transfer market environment, and Arsenal is going to have to do that this year based on the success that they had last season.
That's well said. Yeah. And now you see Enzo, which Chelsea fans be happy about that. Well, Chelsea outings this summer, they're going to get more than 200 million with transfers and salary being released, with Ziyech leaving, with Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, with Edouard Mendy, Koulibaly, Kovacic, Gallagher, Cucurella, all players that are going to leave. Oh, Kante even. Kante getting 100 million with a smile on his face. That I love it. But to stay, guaranteed players. In the next 3 years, I believe Chelsea will keep a player like Enzo, Reece James, and Nkunku. That will be big. Benoit Badiashile, I think he's showing great signs too. So these are the players that they have to invest in that are guarantees in the 11. Which, Enzo, come on. And Caicedo. If Caicedo goes to Chelsea, it will be beautiful for Ecuadorian fans. Independiente del Valle went bold. Kendry Páez joining him too in the future. It's beautiful to see that Ecuador has mad talent. Kendry Páez can become one of the best Ecuadorian players ever. He's got that potential in him, and that's why Chelsea spent big on him. The youngest goal scorer in the Under-20 World Cup. And with Caicedo coming, it's beautiful.
With Caicedo coming, and I think that they are attempting to address the 9 position, which is obviously, it's pretty clear that, not Boli necessarily, but Pochettino doesn't necessarily see a clear 9 favorite right now. I think all of us don't, right? Havertz was used up there. Broha obviously got injured. Datro Fofana is probably not really... I don't know why he was signed in the first place.
No, loan. Fofana, loan. I hope.
Yeah, they'll go out. They'll go out, but they're likely going to be bringing in somebody that I thought was perfect for a backup 9 role at Real Madrid, right? If Benzema stayed, and that is Nicholas Jackson. Okay, and if you don't know the story of Nicholas Jackson, it's okay. Why? Because it literally just started. The story just started. It's honestly been like the last 6-7 months for something under his skin. Just kind of, I don't know, set himself alight form-wise. When Senegal, he made the one-time switch to Senegal. He got called up for the World Cup. Didn't really play that much of the World Cup, but after he came back from there to Villarreal, he became possibly, I was saying it previously, I don't think this is a joke, he was the most informed striker in La Liga. Probably that second half of the season, or at least the final months of that season.
Nicholas Jackson?
Because he's got...
That's bold.
Yeah.
That's a bold
Yeah,
statement.
I mean, he's got like... I think he's got 9 goals, 3 assists in his last 9 games for club and country, and he was on fire. I mean, there's only been one game, I think, for Villarreal up until the end of the season over the last 2.5 months that he didn't have a goal involvement in. He was all over the place. Well, he was scoring. So for Chelsea to bring him in, because he does have it's relatively simple business for them. If you're going to spend 20 million on Cazade and not play him for several years, you can spend 10 million more to get a little depth, right? Yeah, to get a little depth for Nicholas Jackson. And he showed it the other day. He had a wonderful hold-up play for Senegal in their goal against Benin. And he's a really, really good striker that I think it's too soon to give a full 9 position in the Premier League to. But I wouldn't be surprised if he actually shows up, sets the Premier League alight. I wouldn't be surprised.
I like that. I
wouldn't bet on
that. And Nicholas Jackson, he's coming for 35 million if he comes to Chelsea. That is a bargain if you see the landscape with the prices at striker. Rasmus Vitorulen's being asked 100 million to leave Atalanta. So they're signing a prolific striker for 35. Chelsea, I think that's not bad. And considering you're getting Nkunku too, the top goal scorer in the Bundesliga, and he was like injured 4 to 5 months or even more last season, I think like in terms of goals, the answers are going to come. But Broja, that was a nice topic you mentioned. I hope he goes out on loan. Let's see what happens. And Fofana most definitely deserves a loan. And Casadei, 15 million, the MVP. The MVP of the Under-20 World Cup and the top goal scorer of the Under-20 World Cup. Casadei is going to be a full bet in preseason for Pochettino, or maybe loaned out to a Premier League team, which he completely deserves that. 7 goals in the World Cup. Andre Santos and Paez all cost Chelsea 45 million. So that this summer of Todd Boehly will be remembered, at least with some positives. Malo Gusto coming to next season. So, Benoit Badiashile.
And then a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys will have full preseasons under their belts, right? Instead of just being thrown into the fire, as Mykhailo Mudryk was, as Noni Madueke was when he made the move. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at Chelsea, obviously, with a still, side eye of some sort, because I don't necessarily trust Boehly. But I just think he came in and was a little giddy, writing blank checks left and right. But that doesn't mean that they haven't assembled a very nice collection of talent that can definitely, get back to top 4 this particular season. So who I'm most excited about is I think Mykhailo Mudryk and Noni Madueke, obviously not transfers, but they still feel very new. They're both going to be at the U21 Euros, which start this coming week. And I'm very excited to see them get some confidence, get some legs under them, and then transition that into the preseason with Chelsea. So I hope it goes well. And I am rooting. Anyone that has, heard us, I know I've been tongue-in-cheek about Mykhailo Mudryk previously, but I am rooting for this kid to take all those physical talents and take what we have seen as glimpses so far. And I'm rooting for him to take the Premier League by storm next season. I would love to see it happen. He really did. He really did. Yeah.
Mudryk, I really believe, the speed on Mudryk, the creativity, the pass, the finishing that can be sharpened. Mudryk, in terms of potential, is world-class. But we got to see with the right team. Enzo is guaranteed world-class. Look at this man for Argentina. He's unbelievable. So if Chelsea go bold in the transfer window the right way, let's see what happens. Tell us down below what you believe with Pochettino, because a lot's going to be happening.
Absolutely, and I just want to say that there's a wrinkle here that was not there when you and I had been arguing about Chelsea previously, because you were talking about well, there's a lot of people that have to leave, and yeah, damn right, there's a lot of people that have to leave, but who? What wasn't there previously was what? The Saudi League, right? The Saudi League that has come in, and they're gonna give a pretty penny to basically anyone that you will throw out there that is living, breathing, and is seen as a decent footballer and wants to make the trip to Saudi Arabia. And that is a wonderful development for anyone trying to offload relatively decent players that no longer fit their tactical mold, or if you're trying to refresh your entire squad like a certain Todd Boehly is. That was not there 6 months ago. Well, it is now.
But considering that they're still going to get mad money for Mason Mount. They're still going to get Kai Havertz mad money. It's more than 100 million for those two. So I think Chelsea's rebuild is inevitable. And Pochettino, let's see what happens with him. But definitely a big summer too for Man United, which will there be a takeover of Qatar? Because if we see a Qatar takeover with Man United, I fully believe they're going to spend more than 200 million in the transfer window. But if not,
there's your striker.
I've got doubts. Exactly. Man United are absolutely desperate to sign a striker. And the more time passes, the less likely Harry Kane is going to go there. And we already see Rasmus Winter Holendues to Man United that's saying 100 million. No way. No way. He's an amazing talent, but no way. I try 50 million maybe and a loan deal with Amad Diallo, former Atalanta prospect. That would maybe entice them. And I think that would be a good deal. But let's see. Let's see.
I'm with you there. I love Rasmus Winterholen. I saw him and immediately loved him when he moved to the Austrian Bundesliga and really started to just take it over. And then to hit the ground running in Serie A is no small business. So, but is he worth 100 million? Absolutely not. Not at this moment in time. Now, listen, Harry Kane is an interesting thing, right? Harry Kane is something I've been wrestling with, and I could see him. I can actually picture it. I can picture him in the red shirt. I can picture him at Old Trafford. I mean, it just seems right. I don't think in his mind it's right. I honestly believe that the table has turned to where it might be that Harry Kane is a one club man. You know, we all talk about it. Like, we want a Ryan Giggs, right? We want a Paul Scholes, although I know Paul Scholes played elsewhere for a little while. We want, Nicky Butt, right? We want players that, bleed and stay with one club forever and ever. Well, don't knock Harry Kane if that's exactly what he wants. And I just, the more we don't see actual real news about it, Harry Kane doesn't seem like the type of person that does this like last minute type of big move type of thing. He's the guy that gets it done maybe early on so he can get a full preseason in with his new club. He looks at ease in England's camp. I don't think he's got some big, mental gymnastics that has to happen in the next month or two for a new club. I think he's staying at Tottenham, and if he doesn't, I think it's a win-win situation here. It's a win for Spurs and Big Ange, who just took over at Spurs, if he stays, obviously. But it's I don't know. Maybe it's a win for him.
It's a huge win for Big Ange getting the Kulusevski deal for 30 million, keeping Son, and keeping Harry Kane, as it seems. Like, I really hope he doesn't stay, Breton, because Kane deserves titles. The top goal scorer ever of England's national team. The second highest goal scorer in the Premier League history. Please go to Man United and give them a reason to win the Prem against Man City. Man City is terrifying for Man United right now. They are desperate for a player like Kane at number 9. They need a number 9 that is world-class, Man United. And if they don't get him, well, Man City will keep dominating, in my opinion, Manchester. It just will be the deal. It can't. And again, I think Axel Disasi, that's a great transfer for center-back. It puts this agenda of Maguire to leave even more like being a necessity. But come on, it needs to be better options. I see Bruno going bold for Portugal. I want to see him going bold consistently with a number 9 in front of him. And if they don't get that done, it's going to be the same old chit-chat. A midfield of Mason Mount, Casemiro, Bruno, unbelievable. But we need better replacements, like not McTominay and Fred, and a number 9 in front of them in order to win a Premier League. Erik ten Hag is doing magic, but there's a limitation towards this. That is Pep Guardiola at Man City. That's it.
Are you disrespecting Scott McTominay, top of his UEFA Euro qualifying, leader of Scotland, 4 goals, top goal scorer in Euro qualifying? Scott McTominay? I know you are. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding too, but we'll talk about Scotland in a little bit, which it's pretty amazing what they did. But Scott McTominay definitely has to leave. I'm full agreement with you there, and that's the thing here is, I don't see any full answer in, Kobbie Mainoo, right? Garnacho. They've got some really good, midfielders, some width, some depth players, some guys that will grow into potentially really, really good, impactful players. But up top, Charlie McNeil, I don't see it in their academy. Anyone that's going to get chances while they search for the best striker. And that's the thing here is right now the striker market is just so overinflated, in my opinion. And that the only one that probably gives you guarantees if you're going to spend that much money is Harry Kane.
Taremi.
So
I'm joking.
but Taremi in the Premier League, we'll see. I think I am in full agreement that he probably transitioned pretty well. But think about it, man. Harry Kane with Mason Mount, with Bruno Fernandes. I mean, it just that would eat. That would eat.
I completely agree. And that's why Man United, they need to eat. Because Man City isn't stopping eating. They're going to, the way I see it is, Man City's going to let go of Cancelo. They're going to let go of Gundogan. They're going to let go of Bernard Silva. They're going to let go of Kyle Walker. And yet, they're my favorites to win the Premier League next season. Like, it has to be Pep Guardiola once again being the favorite, because who's going to come in with Man City?
Right.
I see Kovacic. I see Joško Gvardiol coming to Man City with this John Stones, Rodri, Akanji, Hake, Ruben Dias formation. That's scary because he played fullback in the past Euros for Croatia.
Yeah.
And Kovacic, Croatian too, in the mix. Like it's like the team chemistry. Guardiola just knows what he's doing. And I want to give a special mention before Ruben Dias. Ruben Dias is officially the best center back in the Premier League. It's no debate anymore. 3 seasons he's been at Man City, 3 Premier Leagues, 1 semi-final and 2 finals in the Champions Leagues. In the meantime, he's won 1 League Cup, 1 FA Cup. He cannot stop winning. Ruben Dias is the difference in the center back and the John Stones position too. Wanted to give that special credit to him.
And if you're gonna give credit there, I mean, how do you feel about Virgil van Dijk over the weekend? I mean, that was pretty tough to see.
Just confirm what I said, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but hey, I think the Manchester City, they've gotten so much smarter at who they target, who they bring in. They're not really clandestine about it. They're not like secret. It's just Gvardiol makes too much sense.
Exactly.
Kovacic, I think, is just a wonderful, wonderful addition. A guy that's won previously, that knows how to play at a high level, that is relatively consistent, that when given his best support was Chelsea's best player more often than not, and can go into beast mode, much like Gundogan sometimes, right? And it just fits that mold. He's the mold of a winner. I just love it. I love it. And I love it too much, to the point where, like, maybe there's a counterpoint here, Alex. Maybe we're giving him too much credit, and there's some big wrench that's thrown into the mix come next season. But yeah, until Pep proves otherwise, Manchester City can't be anything but the favorites for the Premier League next season.
I think Pep Guardiola turned Erling Haaland into a top 3 player in the Ballon d'Or. He was world-class at Dortmund, but now it's confirmation with this European treble. Erling Haaland, definitely top 3. And I didn't ask you this last podcast. What would be your top 3 of the Ballon d'Or? My number 1 is Erling Haaland. Number 2, Lionel Messi. Number 3, I'll give it to Mbappé, with Vinicius Jr. getting the 4th. First time ever, he'll be in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or. Wanted to see that. Embarrassing last season not being there. Poof.
It's true. It's true. I would actually go with the exact same thing, and more so, like, I love Vinicius and I love what he's done, but let's not forget what Mbappé did in the World Cup.
True.
You know, and I know he wasn't able to get it over the finish line, but my goodness, he was absolutely insane for France, time and time again, and it's just so historic in nature. The way, you know, it just, I don't know. He just craves these types of moments, kind of like a Messi, kind of like a Ronaldo, and kind of like a Haaland now. Except, I guess what what Erling Haaland is going to need is he's probably going to need Pep Guardiola to maybe take over the Norwegian national team soon, because SOS, they need help.
Let's see. They need help, yes. But with Liverpool, I just want to say that Liverpool signed McAllister, big transfer for 35 million pounds. That's a bargain, in my opinion, with that release clause. That great agent.
Don't piss me off.
McAllister has. But I wanted to ask you, who would you rather get for Liverpool, Manu Kone or Kefri Thuram? Who would be better? Because if they're signing a type of midfielder like this, they're only going to get one of them. Who would you get?
Well, listen, Kefren Thuram is the sexier pick right now, but Manu Kone, Gladbach as a whole kind of fell apart near the end of the season. Manu Kone has been just a stalwart for them, constantly at the top of the majority of, you know, ball possession, ball winning statistics in the Premier League, progressive passes, things like that in the Premier League. I'm sorry, in the Bundesliga. And he's young as well. He's a little older than Kefren Thuram, but I think Manu Kone is the better pick at this moment. But Kefren Thuram, obviously, his stock has risen so much relatively recently, and you can't argue the pedigree there. But I wonder, somebody's got to ask Marcus, because Marcus Thuram is a teammate, or was a teammate, of Manu Kone. And obviously, Marcus Thuram is the older brother of Kefren Thuram. I think he'd go with blood in this moment, saying he's the better pick. But Manu Kone, I think he knows how good and how special of a ball carrier Manu Kone is. So I'm going to say Manu Kone for Liverpool next to McAllister would be huge. Huge.
Like Liverpool next season in terms of midfield. Trent must transition to midfield. They get a McAllister for 35 million. They can get Manu Kone or Kefre Thuram, and I'd get Gabri Vega with a 34 million release clause.
Why not?
Which is a bargain. A bargain to get. So Klopp's midfield.
All my favorite names.
Is solved. Klopp's midfield is solved. McAllister and Gabri Vega being there. Oh.
You only needed a terrible season to get there. But
look at the free agents market though. The free agents in this market this summer. A lot of old players, yes, but a lot of experience comes with that. With Gundogan, which is world class still, Di Maria, they have Busquets, Firmino, Sergio Ramos, Jordi Alba, De Gea, Isco, Rames. Look at the amounts of free agents that are available. Yeah. A lot will be going to the MLS or to the Saudi League too. So let's wait and see what's going to happen with that. But don't forget to put in the comment section below transfers that we've forgot in the Premier League, and go bold and like this video too. But you said international football, Breton. Whee!
Oh my. Oh my.
Let's start on your end because I've got some things to say with the US. US men's national team talk. We have to talk, Breton. Greg Berhalter staying embarrassing. Look at the time wasted by the US men's national team board of directors. Who made the choice of Greg Berhalter? They're on the spotlight now because that is a mistake, in my opinion. Jesse Marsch should have been the minimal expectations for the U.S. men's national team job. Berhalter happening is mistake because Pepe wasn't called up for the World Cup, and Reina only played 52 minutes in this World Cup because of Berhalter. What does this say about the future?
Can we just start with the positives first, please? We're doing okay. So right now, an old Philadelphia Union assistant coach is at the helm of the U.S. men's national team, and they just beat Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinal. And I don't mean they just beat them; they dusted them. They destroyed them. Christian Pulisic looked like the Terminator out there. Valerian Balogun got a taste of things. Gio Reyna looked absolutely phenomenal, and it was an interim coach that was coaching them. So let the players play.
Now, one of the weakest Mexico teams I've seen in the last 10 years.
It was. And that's a whole nother conversation here. And I do have to say it. And I will say it right now. You know, as somebody that at least I respect the Mexican team. I respect how good and how consistently good they've been for years. That performance was an absolute embarrassment for Mexican supporters. There's no way to defend that. And I don't know how Diego Coca, their new coach, even survives that, because if that type of performance ever happened on our end, you better believe we'd be calling for whoever. I don't care if it's like the kit man that's in charge of the U.S. Team. We'd be calling for his head. So I don't know what it's going to take, but Mexican fans, at some point you need to stop chanting the stuff that you chant, and you need to instead maybe, I don't know, hold your federation's feet to the fire and expect more. Because there's no doubt that if you look at the trajectory of the Mexican Footballing Federation right now, that they're in a standstill. They're not doing anything.
You should say the same for the U.S.
No, I should not.
The
we
manager,
are at the early stages.
What happened with that? If you're getting an outsourced company to make the decision who is the manager of the U.S., the federation isn't confident in themselves to do that call. Yeah. And that's not good.
But the player pool is infinitely better as it stands.
Okay, yes.
The player pool is early stages. The player pool hasn't even really been scraped. And you've got guys that just own Mexico as of late. Okay? I mean, they've beaten them, like, what, 6 times now? I don't know. It's almost getting dizzying, because it used to be that I would approach USA-Mexico with a feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Jared Borghetti? Is it going to be Lozano? Who's it going to be that's going to just take my face and rub it in the mud? Is it going to be Ochoa again? Ochoa's too slow, and they're still calling him up. They're still calling him up. I don't get it. So I feel for Mexico, but at the same time, I agree with you. Completely the wrong call. And they hired Matt Crocker, or whatever his name is, from Southampton. You're right. They brought in a board or something to look over things. And these guys were almost unanimous on bringing back Greg Berhalter. And listen, Greg Berhalter he's a capable coach. But here's what I think. Greg Berhalter took them as far as they can go.
Exactly.
And now was the time to find somebody that can take them farther, that can unlock the players. Because when the players are left to their own devices, when the players are allowed to play the way that they know how, when the players are not reduced to favoritism, right, and bringing in players that are not good enough in favor of bringing in Balogun earlier or bringing in guys like Zendejas earlier, that's probably not the best. Pepe earlier. And letting these guys shine, I don't understand it. And Berhalter has some pride swallowing to do. And all I can say is what's more scary is it feels weird in that over the last 2 weeks you've seen things leaked, right? Christian Pulisic in an interview is like, hey, Greg Berhalter deserves so much credit for our cohesion as a team, and you've got even Ricardo Pepi saying, I'm happy he comes back. I mean, it feels like they're just trying to whitewash it, and it doesn't feel right in my opinion. But at the same time, if Berhalter's back, I hope he's learned his lessons, and I hope he's ready to go, because this supporters group, the people that follow this team religiously, they expect more, and they expect better, and they expect transparency. And Berhalter did not give it to us the first time, so he better damn well do it the second time. Otherwise, he'll be gone. He'll be gone well before this World Cup qualifying campaign starts, and I hope so.
I certainly hope so. Because, I think from what you're saying, it was the big decision of the players, the top players of the U.S. men's national team, to keep Berhalter. As it seems, Pulisic, McKennie, Tyler Adams, Matt Turner, all these players must love Greg Berhalter, because that must be the only reason this man stays. Because if Pulisic is playing like that, Pulisic is in the CONCACAF best player conversation against Alphonso Davies, if he's playing like he played against Mexico. But if not, not even close. And look,
we'll see, man.
I don't like it, man. I don't like it because
I don't either.
The youth deserves better. The fact that U.S. men's national team has players like Sergino Dest that look at the confidence against Mexico. Gio Reyna, Pepe, Musa, Scally looks great. And even a player like Weah that is absolutely vital for this U.S. team. They deserve better, in my opinion. I want to reiterate that. But if that's the case, Bretson, that the leaders of the squad want him, let's wait and see. Do you have any last thoughts on that, though? I can't believe it still. I can't believe it still. Jesse Marsh,
it was very deflating because, of course, that news dropped as USA-Mexico was kicking off. And yet Greg Berhalter will not be on the sideline when USA plays Canada. Unfortunately, we are filming this before the USA-Canada final, where it will be Davies and Jonathan David versus all of the aforementioned players. But the one thing that always encourages me is the quality of player. And what I got most worried about, even before this Berhalter news, was why is it that Serginho Dest is just given like a 6-month sabbatical to sit on the sideline at AC Milan, right? Why? You saw in that USA-Mexico game that he's perfectly capable. Is he the best defender? No. Does he fit a mold that literally a lot of clubs out there could utilize? 100%.
I agree.
Is he still young? Absolutely. Yunus Musa had a bad end of the season for Valencia, but my goodness, the guy's barely 20.
I think
he's gonna kill it for a while. So I am very encouraged by the player pool. I hope that it's not so much the manager. Was it what's his name? Was it Del Bosque more than it was Xavi? What's his name? Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. Was it
Guardiola
right?
more of an influence, or Vicente Del Bosque? Yes.
Right. So a lot of that is what I can fall back on, but I obviously know that there are a lot of diehards out there that are incredibly pissed, and understandably so, and I hear them. I 100% hear them. But Balogun very clearly had to have had a conversation with Berhalter. He wouldn't have just been like, yeah, I'll talk to the guy that used to be an assistant coach and whatever, who's going to be your interim coach. Balogun is in it to stay. He got his first taste of CONCACAF, and he's not yet running for the exit. So that's a good sign. And I think Balogun, in his debut, a lot of people didn't see a goal. They didn't see an assist. What's up with that? Valerian Balogun does a whole lot more that meets the eye. And if you watched him, you see that the reason why Christian Pulisic, the reason why Gio Reyna was given so much time on the ball and the ability to take on defenders is because Balogun sucks in so many defenders.
True.
And I cannot wait to see that take part. Not in the Gold Cup because he's not part of that, but in World Cup qualifying and other big tournaments, hopefully the Copa America in the future. So that's it. High and immensely bullish on the player pool. Very, very disappointed that this is who we decided to re-announce and to do it in such a bizarre and stupid fashion. Exactly. But ultimately, I have to believe in the player pool. And if they really do want Berhalter and they're not all brainwashed, then they know better. And I hope that they can.
Sorry, Bretson.
I know.
They don't.
Yeah.
Jesse Marsh minimal. I'm going to end it by that on saying I think the players shouldn't have the final call in this. I think it should be a standpoint of even Bielsa would have been better. But Bielsa would have said no because he went to Uruguay, though. But Jesse Marsh annoys me that he didn't go. Even Patrick Vieira, I would have preferred than Greg Berhalter. New blood, new testing waters, new formations, newity. And this is what these players need. They need experience.
Now is the time to do it.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Even Thierry. I give it to Thierry ahead of Greg Berhalter again. Henri's been doing great for the U.S. with the CBS Sports Golazo. Love that. Look at the punditry, even giving advice to Erling Haaland. He's more than capable to doing the U.S. men's national team job, in my opinion, man. Like, oh my days, it's mad. It's this mad situation.
We'll see what happens.
People, tell us in the comment section below. Yeah. Your decisions with the U.S. and like this video for more videos just like this. Whoa, but Portugal. I was a bit skeptical about Martinez. Okay. I agree. I am going to start by saying that. But 3 games, we got 13 goals scored, 0 goals suffered. I want to reiterate, 0 goals suffered. I know it's Bosnia, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein, but 0 goals Portugal hasn't suffered. And Palhinha has always started with Roberto Martinez. And I got to love that. One of the best CDMs in the world. Defensively, he's definitely top 5. Definitely top 5 from Palhinha. And now it's undeniable that he's talented. We spoke about him to be the starter in the Euros 2 years ago. And now he's got it locked. More than deserved. That's my first praise. My first moment with Portugal. But I'm a bit... I hope Rafael Leão plays with Iceland. Like, why didn't Rafael Leão play? We needed a player like him. Like, So, yeah.
I mean... Does everybody share your sentiment? I mean, if I comb through, say, Twitter, which I know is an echo chamber and I know can be a little bit overly salty at times, but if I comb through there, it seems like there's more negatives about that win against Bosnia than there were positives. I mean, you should be happy. What, it was 3-0 in the end? And in the end, you would think that you guys drew.
Well,
based on
formation and structure, I think it was a positive. Now, in terms of impressing, that we weren't so dominant. We should have been more lethal. We should have made goals in situations that we didn't. I agree with that. But I see structure. Look, I love Portugal is so lucky for the defenders that are under 23 that we have. Diogo Costa, Nuno Mendes, Antonio Silva, and then a leader next to them with Ruben Dias that he's still young, winning European trebles. We have an elite situation in our hands. And I'm not even mentioning Diogo Leite, David Carmo, Tomás Araújo that is getting traction now. We got so much talent in defense. And that's how you win championships. Solving the defense. Portugal are locked in with these players. And we are going to go bold in the World Cup, Bretson. I completely believe in us now. I really believe that we can do something. Diogo Costa, Antonio Silva. Or the Euros too. I see World Cup. It's obviously Euros, of course.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Well, I do see. I mean, the depth is just ridiculous. When I just saw before we even got on here, I saw your U21 Euros roster, right? And the Golden Ball winner from 2 years ago is literally back. Fabio Vieira, right? Fabio Vieira is back. You've got João Neves. You've got Fabio Silva up front. I mean, you've got a lot of these guys that it's. Pedro Neto, up top. A lot of these guys you would have expected to maybe have graduated, but the depth is just kind of filling out.
Very true.
Almost almost ridiculously, actually. And not only that, it's not PSG. Vitinha is not part. It's Vitinha Marseille, right?
Yes,
Marseille's
yes,
Vitinha
yes, yes, yes.
is in as a striker. Okay, so I just needed to. My head was thinking Vitinha PSG, and then I'm like, wait a second, I think it's the other guy. But do you think that they have enough? And I know this is a departure, but Roberto Martinez is going to be picking from this crew at some point. João Neves, I know you've mentioned previously. Do you think that they have what it takes to get over the line? What they couldn't get done 2 years ago against Germany in the U21
we're one
Euro?
of the favorites. I think 100%
Cool.
Portugal is one of the favorites in the under-20 Euros. Just like I think
Yeah.
we're one of the favorites in the next Euros in the next year. Portugal, in terms of talent, I'm so happy that the big academies in Portugal and the development done by the federation, the unity in all these groups, it's all done by the Portuguese Federation. Since they're in their
great.
under 15, they're all next to each other. They're all in so many sporting camps together. It's great to see that the product of that unity is now showing with like players like Diogo Dalot being great friends, Diogo Costa, player groups. Like I can really feel like that there's no enemies in the Portuguese national team. A bit like England, contrasting with the Englands of the past. Now England, Saka and Foden, really good friends. You see a bit of Jack Grealish bantering with anyone. Portugal is like that too. You see more smiles than in the past. Like it's more of a united group. And I think Ronaldo is doing a great job. Cristiano Ronaldo with Roberto Martinez is playing good football. Yes, Gonçalo Ramos is inevitably going to get that position, in my opinion, in a Euro situation. Inconsistency in games. I think he'll start. But Cristiano Ronaldo has inspired our nation to do better. Every day he does better with Portugal, I believe. So I'm really happy to see that. I'm really happy to see that.
Well, who's, serious question here. Who's going to do the same with Norway? Because Norway.
But Norway, wait. Still, no. Cristiano Ronaldo's going to have 200 games for Portugal when he plays against Iceland. Nobody's done that for Norway. Erling Haaland is still getting started at 22. I get you. But Cristiano Ronaldo is still like the icon. And Cristiano Ronaldo brought Portugal 2 major trophies, like with the Nations League and the Euros too in the past. I really believe we can get a third with the Euro spot. Por favor, Cristiano Ronaldo, make that happen. Dreams come true with him. And Cristiano Ronaldo solidified Portugal, and we have a football heritage now in football. We had Figo, Eusébio, Pauleta, Deco, Rui Costa, big names in the past, but Ronaldo has made us front runners. Like a huge nation in football. Wanted to see.
Yeah, and I know I'm mildly joking about the Haaland reference, but we widely see Haaland and Mbappé as kind of taking the torch and running with it, right? And Haaland and Norway are essentially at the exact same crossroads, where there's this collection of talent that grew up together for the most part, played together for the most part, and my goodness, they still can't figure it out. Well, Ronaldo did get them over that line. Obviously, I think you guys have more of a footballing heritage than Norway ever did previous to this, right? But Norway can't even hold on to a lead to Scotland in Norway.
I get you though. But Bruno Fernandes, I want to talk about him too, mentioning him.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes against Bosnia, 2 goals, 1 assist. Bruno Fernandes in his last 10 games for Portugal, he's got 7 goals, 6 assists. These are unreal stats. The Portuguese magnifico. Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes play together for Portugal. Manchester rivals, but together for Portugal national team. We are so lucky for this player pool, and that's why I'm going to say we really are contenders to make it happen. And we even have the top entertainer. The top entertainer in the internet broke the internet speed by meeting Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. Such a wholesome moment. Completely deserved that. And huge thank you to Bradley and to Rafael Leão that they were huge in making this happen of Speed meeting Cristiano Ronaldo. It broke the internet. And like, it was his dream, and I love to see it. Obrigado, Speed, por dares reconhecimento a Portugal. That's what he's doing. He's given recognition to us, and I gotta congratulate Speed for doing that. Like, the passion on that guy, unbelievable.
Oh, it's just hysterical. You have to give him credit too for probably making a good amount of his following previous to this. They're probably all footballers now, or football fans now, because of his Stewie comment. And then that just turned into his lifelong quest. This has only been what, like a 1.5 year, 2 year quest for him. I mean, the guy's still not even 19,
From
not even
March
20 years old yet.
2022, he got the donation of Bradley to now meeting Cristiano Ronaldo in June.
There you go, guys.
2023.
That is all you have to do. That is all you have to do is start a YouTube channel. No, just kidding. It's insane. The scope and the size of his following and the people that follow his insanities. And I guess he's fallen in love with Portugal.
Exactly.
I do know that feeling. Because
he knows we're winning the World Cup in 2026. Speed knows that, just like me. Joe Costa, Antonio Silva, Nunes, world-class player potential in their positions. We're just getting started. And Rafael Leão, João Felix, João Neves, Vitinha, so much talent. I go crazy. But people, do you agree with me? Like this video if you do. Put in the comments section what Portugal can win. And 2, your statements about Portugal. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Or do you not? Tell us in the comments section. Thank you for going bold. But you mentioned Norway. You said Norway. It is so true. And Erling Haaland at 22, he's got 24 games for Norway, 22 goals and 2 assists at the age of 22. He's already an icon for Norway. And why did you sub him at the end? The turnaround happened with Scotland after they subbed him. He must have been mad in the locker room. I can't even imagine.
Isn't there a saying that offense is the best defense sometimes, especially when you're playing at home against a team that you probably should be able to manage in some capacity? I mean, having Haaland out there is a big kind of like fly trap. I mean, the defenders have to flock to him. They can't commit too many men forward in the waning minutes of minutes of the game at home. And Norway, like, this isn't a one-time let up. They are winless in 3. Their ability to potentially qualify for the Euros is already in danger 3 games in, okay? Whereas Scotland have to be given some sort of credit because they are 9 points and they are at the tippy top of the table, and they beat Spain and they beat Norway and they beat Cyprus to do this. So yeah, there's still a long way to go with qualifying, but it is pretty crazy because this doesn't feel like a changing of the guard. Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard and Frederick Orsnes, they obviously have an insane collection of talent that should be at the Euros. But what is happening? Why did they allow this Scottish remontada? Why did they stub out in the 83rd minute or whatever it was, 81st minute, Haaland, and then the 2 goals came within 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes after that? And I hate saying this, but if Norway gets into a World Cup solely because we've expanded the World Cup, that is just a smack in the face to Haaland, and it's a smack in the face to the collection of talent that they have. So I don't know if it's Solbakken needs to go. I don't know who needs to get their butt in gear, but Haaland needs to start taking it by the scruff of the neck because it's not happening in Norway right now.
And Odegaard too. I watched the second half of that game. I was expecting Odegaard to be more involved, honestly. Yeah. And yes, too. Like, they have Solbakken in front. It's a Roma player, former Bodo Glimt, Starloff, Erling Haaland, Sander Berge, Orsens, Martin Odegaard. They got Andres Sheldrup. They even could have called up. I don't know if he's under 21. A lot of player pool, a lot of talent. Like Norway, get it together, man. Get it together. And like Italy seems to be doing.
I gotta give, like Italy seems to be doing. Well, we'll talk about that in 2 seconds because I got words about that. But Scotland, man, they deserve a little credit because they have not lost a competitive game in over a year. Now, there haven't been many games. It's been 7 games or so. But ultimately, they've won 6, I think, and they've drawn 1. And Scott McTominay has turned into a top scorer. John McGinn looks as good as he looks for Villa. You've got Landon Dykes was the guy that made the difference in this particular game. So really, really interesting stuff there. And if Scotland can qualify out of a group with Norway and Spain in it for the Euros, my goodness, good on him. And Billy Gilmore.
McGinn.
Yeah, McGinn.
Billy Gilmore's, Scott McTominay. They all look different with Scotland. And you got Tierney in the mix if he's not injured. Like, you got a lot of talent on that. Aaron Hickey. I think Aaron Hickey too. He's there. So it's,
he's good.
Let's see what Scotland can do. There was another shocker in the international scheme of things was South Africa beat Morocco. The first match that Morocco played since the World Cup. So that was complete. It shook the world 2-1 South Africa by doing that. So pay attention to the African teams. Like, there's some really interesting matchups happening. And I want to mention last thing on my end is Italy and Inter, most especially. Inter, look, Inter have Di Marco, Bastoni, Barella, Acerbi, the veteran at the back for Italy. The influence of this team this season is immense. So Frateggi, join Inter de Milan and make the right decision with that. I just wanted to say that. That Di Marco must be in the talk of best left wing backs in the world right now. Must. He's underrated if he's not in that talk, and one of the best crossers on the ball. Wanted to say.
It's just hard to believe. Yeah, it's only been like 2 seasons of consistency from Di Marco, but he has definitely proven his worth. But listen, the first match where Spain beat Italy, Roberto Mancini, that lineup was just utter crap.
True.
Utter crap. I mean, no Di Marco was in there, right? Chiesa came off the bench. I know he came out. You had Spinazzola, but like Rafael Toloi, Bonucci, and Acerbi, that's old and slow. Man, it doesn't mean that they're not capable, but that's old and slow. And when it comes down to it, Mancini, I think he's losing some fans there. They came back and they played. He learned from his mistakes in that Netherlands game, the 3-2 win. But like, come on, play the hot hands. Play the players that do some things. And when you do, Italy's interesting to watch. They really are. And, you know, the future of Willy Gnonto, that's something you got to watch. Like this, first off, you got to love it. He's smaller than Messi. He's smaller than, like, Maradona. He's smaller than most people out there. And yet he had an impact the moment he came on the pitch for them versus the Netherlands. And yet he just got relegated with Leeds. It was a coup that they signed him in the first place. And he's getting no love, but there's no way he's staying in the championship, right?
I agree. Nocto needs to move. Nocto needs to move completely. And to Italy, like Juve need a player. Like, if they're letting go of Chiesa, this is shocking for me if that's the case. Get Nocto. Get Nocto. Let's wait and see. Not? Do you have any last mentions, Breton?
Yeah, if we're going to do shocks, I got to give some love to Armenia. Armenia went to Cardiff and they beat Wales 4-2. Okay? And they kind of outran him. And I love it because anyone that watches Major League Soccer right now knows the name Lucas Zalarian. He is one of the best players next to Hani Mukhtar in MLS. He's one of the most consistent. He plays for Columbus. He had 2 goals in that game. But based on our name, FC Wonderkid, I have to throw out a name that nobody probably knows at this moment in time. It's a Bayern product. 19-year-old striker, bigger striker. He is no longer at Bayern. He actually just signed on a free for Gladbach, which tells me he's probably going to play next season. But at 19 years old, he's got it was his first competitive cap for Armenia, and he scores 2 goals against Wales in Wales, and he's now got 4 goals in his first 2 caps for Armenia. So look out for Grant Leon Ranos, I believe is his name. So 19-year-old striker, and it was just really interesting to see because all across the board, you expect to see the Hollands, you expect to see the Gonzalo Ramoses, you expect to see all these names on the scoreboard. The Haaland's on the scoreboard. He needed a penalty to get on the scoreboard. And it winds up being Ranos with a big, I mean, beating Wales in Wales is a big deal, is it not? Especially if you're Armenia.
No bail, no pardon.
No bail, yeah. But come on, you got plenty of good players on that Welsh team. But yeah, no, I'm with you. So that's my only other shout there. And the last shout actually is not in the Euro qualifiers. But if we don't say Luka Modric's name, his showing in that semifinal to take that game and turn it on top of its head. Assist a goal. I think he drew a penalty. He had a goal as Croatia is now 1 win away from his first ever international trophy. And I just got to say, he then also turns down a massive, massive move to Saudi Arabia because I think this guy only knows how to play in one gear, and that's world class. Well, it's world-class gear.
He still can play at that level. And I think like the Real Madrid project, he'll be one of the most experienced players. And when Bellingham does that press conference, he's like saying, I'll be a sponge next to Kroos and Modric.
Better
So
be.
you love to see
Better be.
that. If you're listening
You do.
until now, don't forget to like episode 110, people. Go bold in the comment section with all the topics that we discussed. And again, people, thank you so much for